Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the first opt-in radio program, official one anyway, on the Freedom Reigns network on Blog Talk. My name's Lisa Harrison, and we're going to be joined by quite a few people today, including Santos Bonacci, Bob Wright, Chris Hales, Dee from Removing the Shackles, American Kabuki, Brian Kelly, also from American Kabuki, possibly Heather from the One People's Public Trust. So we have quite a few updates and information to share with you all today. So I'm going to start by bringing some people in. and Santos Bonacci, your microphone is now live. Say hello.
Yep. How are you, Lisa? Pleased to be here.
I'm great, man. I'm so glad you joined us.
Yep, it's great to be here. I've also, I don't know whether you're aware of it yet, but Francesca and Eugenio from Italy would like to sit in because they really want to be updated, and they'll be joining us too.
Lovely. If you want to Skype me, if they've called in already. There's actually a lot of feedback and echo on your line, Santos. Skype me the whatever number they might be calling in from. I'm just... Or maybe it's Bob. Bob, maybe there's noise on your line.
Yeah, it was another line.
Okay, it's better now. Okay, we've also got Chris Hales. Chris?
Hi. Yep. Hi, everybody. I'm here, and we've opted in. We're in the panel. Let's do it.
Lovely. Who else have we got? Where have they all gone? Now, this is either Brian Kelly or American Kabuki. 760. Hello, 760 area code. It should be Brian or AK. No, not talking. Okay.
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, is that Brian?
There we go.
There we go.
Well, we're both, American Kabuki and I are both 760, so that was a little bit confusing. But and I'm here. I feel like I'm in Australia, and it's nice, but I'm in, well, gosh, it's not sunny San Diego today, but hear you guys loud and clear. Glad to be on the call.
Right. It's not sunny Australia either at the moment. You're not alone. We do expect other people to call in, but I know that you've got some updates you'd like to share and some information you want to put out there, Brian. So do you want to kick it off?
Oh gosh. What big info are you referring to? Because there's so much to report today.
Well, I know you had a call out for helpers.
Oh yes. Okay. So yeah, we'll go ahead and get it started. So we are considering the high volume of live listeners that we had last Monday, or maybe it was Sunday. It was over 101,000 live listeners. We're now in a position where we're trying to really get organized, and there's a lot of work to be done. And the conversations that we've had in the last week, especially with everything going as viral as it has, and so quickly. We're now starting on putting together a lot of various projects to spread the information far and wide. And, I think we've, one of the conclusions that we've drawn in our talks that we have, between you and I, Lisa, and Heather and the rest of the group is, if we can set the intention to get really organized and tap into the resource pool that we have available to us through, everybody that's wanting to contribute throughout the world and all their countries, respectively, then we could get a lot done and very quickly. So I'm actually taking notes here on my end, but because getting organized with that many people is, it's not always the easiest thing to do. So really what we're trying to do is prioritize based on the jobs that we think are the most pertinent and the most important to get done first. And so what we've done, I set up a dedicated email, which is it's opptgroundcrew@gmail.com, and we want anybody that has any experience in web design, video production, anything that has to do with any, writing or journalism. And I have a list, and I'll pull that list up on my computer. I have to open it. I'm ill-prepared right now, but I'm going to read it out a little bit later. But what I want everybody to do is send an email to opptgroundcrew@gmail.com, and in the subject line, write support -- and the skill set that you can offer, that you can contribute to the cause, and then that way we can go through them and we can reach out to people individually and start putting together some projects and really start taking this thing viral and ripping the Band-Aid off.
Ripping the Band-Aid off. Talk about going viral. Yeah, the I Am Free opt-in, ripping the Band-Aid off. These two phrases have just gone completely crazy. I've never seen anything like this go viral, go globally viral so quickly. It's just been extraordinary. If anybody else wants to comment on that?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, it seems like every day there's a new Facebook post popping up or a new Facebook page popping up, and there's new websites popping up. And, you know, one of the things, and you're probably going to want to talk about it a little bit too, Lisa, that we're trying to do is have a hub to where we can link to some of the other pages that are coming online all over the world, because there's just so much out there. I mean, right now, we've gone from, a couple dozen to hundreds to thousands, and now, we're potentially breaking into the arena of being in the millions of people that have heard about this. And everybody is, they're geared up and excited and wanting to contribute and get involved in any way that they can, and that's so exciting. It's so exciting when to see how far we've come in such a short amount of time, and with a little bit of organization and some good ideas and some contribution from folks that are outside of the people that are talking right now, we can go a long way, and we can go a long way quickly. I mean, we've already proven that based on how far we've come just in the last month. So every week I just really look forward to discussing how much progress we've made from the week before. And, I know we're going to be talking a lot about, the documents and how to use them, and there's some great, just unbelievable developments on that end of things. But, because everybody wants to know, how do I use these documents? How do I declare my own sovereignty? I look forward to the day where the documents are no longer necessary. But in the interim, when while we're still in a time where we're still dealing with the remnants of the slavery systems that are still in place, there's a lot of people that are in really desperate situations that really want to understand how to put these into play. And I don't know how much, if we're planning on talking about what Chris has created on this call and putting that new document out there. I've read it, and it's beautiful. I can't really speak to it. I don't know if Chris is on the call, right?
Yes, he is, and we will discuss it. And it's a beautiful collaborative effort of several people here in Australia that, as you know, there are, as you just said, there's a lot of people out there who are in really tight situations right now that are looking for a remedy right now, and trying to expect people to get their head around UCC and filings and all of that sort of thing is a big ask. So I'll bring Chris in and let him talk about this document. It's not available as yet. I think it still needs one or two ticks of approval, and when it is, it'll go up on the opt-in website, which I'll talk about after Chris has talked about the document. So take it away, Chris.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I've got a big crowd out there today, and from what Diatra's just posted in the sort of internal chat here, it's looking like being bigger than last week, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, the document that we're working on is a relatively simple thing. It's not a UCC filing. It's actually a notice, and there's a very specific way that we're thinking about this thing being used. And if Lisa, if you want me to talk about it now, it's going to take a few minutes just to explain the background concept that we're working with. Can I take some time with this? Do you want to do it a bit later in the show? I can just introduce
it. Let's go for it, and we've got such a long list of things to get through, so let's just deal with it as we go.
Okay. All right. We've been working on supplying instructions for some local people on how to do UCC filings, and when I say we, I'm working with two other guys, who I call the Bartles. Scott Bartle is the Australian who made the YouTube video called Frequently Unanswered Questions of the Australian Government. And if you haven't seen it yet, look it up on YouTube, because in it Scott absolutely nailed the Australian government as being a corporate entity, which is a really great piece of work. And from it he developed an administrative procedure, which is based on the usual sort of three-step administrative procedure, but essentially it called them out, requiring them to prove who they said they were. Based on that concept, we decided that one of the things that we really needed to put out there was a similar document using the UCC filings instead of this dramatic flaw that he'd found in the way that the Australian Constitution had been stepped around by you-know-who, the original Australian Constitution. Now, so we decided, okay, we'll use that same technique with these UCC filings. And as an initial step that people can use when the old system tries to interact with them. So when you get a bill, you could use this at any time during a court procedure, and I'll explain why in a minute. You could even use this if you handle it the right way, and I have to emphasize, you must handle this the right way. If you want to do this when a policeman's pulled you over onto the side of the road, you can, but you'll have to do it exactly the right way. So you need to be firmly in the right place in your mind and know exactly what you're about, but you could do it. So essentially, we started the discussion by saying, well, these UCC filings are pretty difficult to a point. Once you've done it once, that'd be fine, but it's all a bit strange and new. Can we do something for people that they could use day to day? So we then said, okay, what's the landscape? Why are we using UCC filings first up when we could simply be, telling them that situation's changed? Now, Scott's process is really good for that, because essentially it's a notice. In fact, we've headed this one courtesy notice. The landscape we're currently in is that we're all private individuals dealing with one another privately. That is the new paradigm. Okay, the old system actually doesn't exist on paper, and it's working its way into reality, and this document will help it, give it a big push in there. Now, in that landscape, you have a bunch of individuals playing dress-ups. They think they're corporations, they think they're governments, they think they're doing all sorts of things in a structured way to a structure which, has always been there. And
with limited liability, might add.
But they think they're in limited liability, but they're not. They're actually in unlimited liability. What this document is saying to them is that the game has changed. You are now in unlimited liability. You might think you're acting on behalf of a corporation, but you're actually acting on behalf of a foreclosed corporation that has no standing in this new environment. And as such, you're a private individuals approaching others, extorting money from them. That's the viewpoint we've taken with this first version of the document. So the first version of this document is essentially saying you're committing what's called a common law tort, because we're acting at this stage. The lawful side of the new paradigm is common law and UCC law and universal law. Okay, so if we look at common law, if someone walks up to you in the street and says, you drop that package on the ground, you owe me $50. They have no right to do that. That's actually extortion. So we're calling them out on that, pointing out that they're actually acting in unlimited personal liability. Okay, they're acting in the capacity of an individual without a corporate safety net, so they've got to take full personal liability for every action they take, and we're pointing them firmly at the fact that the governments and bank charters have been cancelled, and we're pointing them at the UCC documents they can go and look at. And very much this document is about encouraging them to go, oh, take a step back, I better go and have a look at these filings, because these people are telling me that if I give them this parking ticket, they could take my house. Okay, so we're trying to pull the big fear lever back on them the way that they pull it on us, and we're doing it in a way that represents the reality of the situation, which they just don't know yet because they don't have the memo. And in using this document, you actually are giving them the memo. The One People's Public Trust has not actually gone fully public yet, and to be fair on these people, they don't know the situation. Now, when we're one of them, they're one of us. We don't want to jump all over their lives necessarily, They don't want us jumping all over their lives necessarily, but what this document does is warn them that should they choose to act on behalf of a foreclosed entity, only extortionate claims may arise for which respondent in their individual capacity will be held personally liable. Such claim may result in lawful remedy being brought against respondent under the full extent of UCC law, including but not limited to UCC commercial bill against respondent's personal assets. Okay, that's some of the verbiage out of the document. Okay, it's not. We're not going to sign off and release it just yet because we need to discuss it in detail with Heather. Unless she gives us the big tick and says, yeah, it's fine. And essentially, yeah, Bob?
One of the things I really liked about the documents was because at the end, it not only notified them and told them the reality of their situation, that they're standing as a private, personal individual engaged in, extortion and slavery systems, but it gives them an option at the end. Could you talk about that? It allows them a way to move.
Yeah, now at this point, we don't want to be jumping on the lives of everybody. We don't want to be having to go out and make massive numbers of UCC filings. We just want, at this stage, what we want from them is silence. We want them just to back off. So the very last thing on the first section of the document, it says, should respondent cease and desist any and all extortionate claims brought against proponent, actions brought against respondent's personal assets may be averted. So we're giving them perfect opportunity to walk away. And then we're saying to them, if you want to act with me in the future, privately and individually, there are terms and conditions. And the second section of the document are the terms and conditions. And I won't go into them at this stage, but they're very clearly stated. And most of the terms and conditions have a dollar value attached to them, as a lot of these things often do. Like if they want to come and talk to you, it'll cost them $1,000. Okay? If they want to act in this capacity on behalf of a foreclosed corporation. If they want to come and have a beer with you, well, that's up to you. Now, one of the very important things that we've yet to add in here, because I thought of it just as I went to sleep last night, was the massive amount of liability up and down these fictional foreclosed corporations that is being generated as they currently function. If you're, for instance, a supervisor in a credit department of a credit collection agency, you might have 50 people under you, and those 50 people are committing extortion maybe 50 times a day, which means that, how many people are they actually acting against? Who could actually start a UCC filing against them? So the supervisor in that company might have generated, by instructing people around him, say 200 to 300 extortionate acts per day, which could all come back to him personally as UCC filings if you wanted to really take it to the nth degree. That's a massive amount of liability, and that needs to be drawn to their attention. And, of course, it'll...
Sorry, I just wanted to reiterate again that this is not a final product. It's still a work in progress, and only once it's been fully ticked off will it end up on the website. It may need to be amended. And it's as much an education tool as it is anything else.
Yes,
and it is. We're using it to educate those people who still are of this belief that they are acting under a limited liability with the protection of a corporation behind them. And
correct.
Use it as such, And once these people understand this, I personally see a huge shift in the viability of some jobs and companies and so on and so forth.
Now, what happened when I distributed this draft to a number of people we've been talking to about it last night, immediately got some feedback from Hope Girl pointing out that it's a very male energy document. It's an old system document, which is absolutely correct, is very much so, and that what we're missing is the opportunity to do exactly what Lisa says, is to introduce the One People's Trust to them in a positive fashion while confronting them at the same time. So
Chris,
we're going to
speaking of Hope Girl, she's on the call here. Do you want me to bring her out?
Yeah, she's 978.
Yeah, bring Hope in, because I'd like her to put this to you guys directly, because this is the real educational side. And the
Hope,
chance we have to...
I'm here, everybody. Hi.
Hi, Hope.
Hi, Hope.
Hi. Thank you so much, Chris. So, yes, taking a look at the document, I looked through it, and I think it's very necessary that we, basically inform them of the new system and put them in a position where they're forced to make a choice to act lawfully or to do what their bosses tell them to do, which is to extort money out of people. But what came up for me is to try to think about the perspective of the individual who's in that position, whose job it is to extort money. So I came up with an example of, let's say you're a bank manager and you get paid to extort money from people. That's your job. And so now you receive this notice saying you have to stop doing what your boss is paying you to do, or you're going to be held personally liable. And I understand that the options are you can just walk away, but in many cases, they're walking away into what?
Yeah,
Do we have
just
to
before.
quit their jobs, or?
Yep. Yeah. Well, actually, the document essentially is requiring them to cease and desist interacting with me if I've given this document to them. Not really saying you've got to walk away from your job, but what it does by putting this information in front of them, clearly at some stage in the future they will have to make the choice that Hope's talking about. Okay, but I'll hand it back to Hope because she had a very, very nice take on how we can use this to inform them of the new paradigm.
So that was just a little bit of the background of the perspective of the individual when they first received this notice. But I think that we should combine the notice with giving them an option of informing them about the new system and the new structure, and to say, if you want to stop acting unlawfully, you can choose this instead. So to just add on to that educational piece where we tell them there's a whole new structure, maybe it's talking about the CVACs or something along those lines, just showing them that there's this other land of opportunity that they can choose to enter into so that it turns the entire thing into an offer that they can't refuse.
Yeah. Now, at this moment in time, where although the US CVAC is technically in place, there aren't any CVACs actively funded and operating. We can certainly talk about that as a future option, and once that change has taken place and there are funded CVACs actually working, we can actually say to them, this is a real opportunity you and your family could do now. You don't have to live this way anymore, and point out the obvious differences between the two systems. I guess what I'm saying is that this particular approach we're taking will have to morph and change over the coming months as the situation changes. At the moment, it's being produced for the current state of affairs. So, and in particular, we want this to be able to be used anywhere on the planet, which is why it's just a notice. We're actually calling it courtesy notice. We're trying to do them a courtesy by telling them exactly what situation they're putting themselves in and what their options are from our perspective. And in that sense, you could translate this into Dutch or German or French or any language on the planet, and it will still have the effect that we're after, which is to make them sit back, look at the filings, and realize that, the game has changed. The problem that they have is that once they have this information, they know that the liability is theirs. While you're acting in ignorance, there's always a certain argument from, well, I just didn't know because no one told me. Once they've got the memo and they know, and you have proof that they know, that becomes more difficult. Now, we're not trying to necessarily corner these people because these people are our friends and neighbours, but we are trying to bring them up short and stop them from interacting with you in this fashion. It's quite possible you could use this when you're right in the middle of a foreclosure because you are approaching these people as private individuals. So every person that you're dealing with, that's every lawyer, every judge, every bailiff, everyone involved in that action against you can receive this notice or whatever final version goes out there, and it will most definitely draw their attention to the reality of the situation that they're in, and it'll have great meaning to those people because they don't know, they may not know what's going on at the moment, but when they do, it'll be a really short, sharp shock for them. And that's the effect we're trying to have. But at the same time, as Hope's interjected, we've got the feminine side, which is, yes, Daddy just gave you a smack up the side of the head, but now Mummy's going to tell you that it's actually not so bad because it's temporary.
Make it all better.
Yeah, pretty much. So the balance is something that we want to pull back into what we're actually doing, and it's no coincidence we started talking to Hope because that's exactly what happened as soon as we did. So look out for this document. We're hoping to finish this in the next couple of days and get it up on the site. There is a conversation that I had with the Bartles, and by the way, Ken Bartles, Scott's dad, turned 71 today, so happy birthday, Ken, and thanks for all your help.
Oh, happy birthday, Ken.
Yeah, now Ken is also, Ken's another guy whose life is no coincidence. He's been interested in and researching, principles behind government for decades, and has suddenly found himself sitting in front of the CVAC specifications, and he's actually the guy who's generating the initial pass at what we're calling a CVAC primer, which is exploring the actual critical parts of the CVAC documents, which we've put aside just for a moment to get this particular document out, because we're fairly confident we'll be able to finish it quickly, that people will be able to use it, and that it will have an effect pretty much anywhere it goes, and that's a really positive thing, and that'll keep everybody's momentum. Give people something actively that they can do, should they so choose. Now, you don't have to do this. You've got to be confident and stand in the space to use these kinds of tools, but there are many, many, many people out there who are just raring to go with this, and need to remind you too that the enforcement in this ultimately always goes back to UCC law and completing the filings properly, perfecting a commercial bill, and then enforcing it by whatever means you can through their system, be it sheriff, bailiff, until such time as the enforcement through the CVAC comes online, where we will hopefully have bonded volunteers from US military, and possibly from elsewhere as well, who will act on our behalf. And again, we're not about necessarily messing up people's lives, because we don't really need to be doing that. But if someone's trying to foreclose on your house, you have every right to take actions that are lawfully available to you if they're acting unlawfully. So I'll leave it at that. That's
Thanks, Chris.
As much as we need to say at the moment, and we'll get on with the show. But do keep an eye out on the Opt-in website over the next few days.
Okay, Hope, was there anything else you wanted to add to that before we move on to the next thing on the list?
No, I think that was said pretty well. And thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you here.
Indeed. Thanks, Hope.
And Dee, are you with us? I thought I heard your chuckle earlier. There you are.
There she is.
I had myself muted and forgot, as usual.
It happens. I wanted to just say a call out and an absolute you rock for your What If blog post. I thought it was brilliant. If you haven't read it yet, people, please go to Removing the Shackles and read What If. I think it will help put a lot of the disinformation and the questions and concerns and confusion that people are experiencing into really clear perspective. She's written it so simply and beautifully. I actually wanted to read it out at one point during the show, but I'll just tell everyone to go there and read it for themselves. I think you did a great job on that one.
Oh, thank you, hon. It was one of those, I was sitting there trying to figure out how to get it across, and my husband looked at me and said, well, you should write about what if. And then just say, well, what if this is happening, but this is what it really is? Mm-hmm. And it literally hit me in the head, and I was like, okay, I have to go do this right now. And I ran back to the computer and sat down and typed the whole thing out in one shebang. So.
Nice. Your audio just went weird then, but I heard you. It actually, I was not long after I'd read that, I was in the shower, which is one of those rare moments you have to yourself. And I, like an infomercial flashed into my mind. And so picture this. You've got this, it's a flashy, bright-coloured infomercial, and it says, welcome to freedom. And there's a really cheesy voiceover that says, we've repackaged your slavery system. It's now covered in fake gold glitter, and we've decorated it with shiny objects for your distraction, and we've lengthened your leash. So, welcome to slavery 2.0, a more comfortable form of slavery. And I cracked myself up in the shower, I have to say. And I thought that's kind of feels like what they're doing is just, repackaging it, making it a little bit sparkly and lengthening the leash, and that's what's going on, and nothing changes.
No, and that was the point that has really been hitting me so strongly over the last 3 weeks, but especially the last even 5 or 6 days. So much so, the more to use Heather's favorite expression, the more data that comes in.
We're losing you. You sound like an android. Oh, now you're back.
I'm not an android. Can you hear me okay
We've had some bad phone connections today. Just want to throw that out there. So we're going to send out some energy to bring in some good ones for this call.
Cool.
Well, maybe I should close some of the 18 windows I have open on my computer right now. I don't know. That might help.
That might help.
It's already working better, Dee.
Okay. No, what I was just saying is it's really been hitting home to me in a most spectacular fashion over the last few weeks, but especially in the last 5 days. Just exactly how much wool they're trying to pull over everyone's eyes with this. Of course, there's been all this stuff coming out about Madame Wu, and you get one side saying this and one side saying that, et cetera, and it's all kind of like the shell game. Do you know where you have the little pea under one shell and you shuffle them around and trying to distract the person? And that's what it's like. There's always something that comes to the fore to distract people. Oh, let's talk about this now, but let's not talk about the real issues. And that was the thing that came to me when I was writing this last night of, this is it. It's very straightforward, really. Exactly. Like, there's a new financial system, but it's still the same banks. There's a new government, but it's still the same politicians. Okay, really, let's look at this realistically. How much change is happening? I think someone's just giving us gilded cages to live in.
Dee, I view this as being getting a new set of gangsters.
It is. That's what I said. All it is a dynasty change. This is a dynasty change from one cabal to another cabal. This cabal over here has gotten powerful enough to force this cabal over here out of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Think
about how convoluted NESARA has got since, how many websites are there? That's all they talk about is NESARA, and what NESARA originally was, no one really knows. It's just an evolution now, and that's something that's been out there that's now been so convoluted that I shy away from even trying to read about it anymore.
Well, I read everything about it because within each one you will find small pieces of truth that you can glean from it. But the truth of the matter is, in NESARA, when the lawsuit was won, it was closed off by the judges, the Superior Court, that no one could talk about it on pain of treason. So anything that is coming out is rumor, speculation. Yes, there are some facts for sure, but the reality of it is we really don't know exactly what was in that final outcome.
Dee, just for the people who don't know that much about NESARA can only be switched on, if you like. Is it by the president or is it by your Supreme Court?
I don't know. Depends on... quite straight true. Who you ask, it has to be the Supreme Court. To the best of my understanding, it has to be the Supreme Court.
Who are owned by whom?
Yeah, well, we all know where they all got their fancy letters at the end of their name from.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is just it. Now, this isn't to say that there aren't good people who were involved in this originally. This isn't to say that NESARA wasn't a brilliant idea and a brilliant plan at the time that it was conceived and put together. Mm-hmm. That has never been what I've been saying about it. And I think that a lot of people have misunderstood that. What I'm saying is the fact that it has been usurped by the cabal. So basically it's like, okay, well, we need a plan. Here, we've got this here, so we'll use it like this, and we'll give them this, and we'll give them this. And, we'll give them some money back, and we'll, make it sound all lovely and shiny and wonderful. But the reality of it is, as I said, it's still the same banks in charge of your money. It's still the same politicians. It's still the same authorities that are patting you down and checking your passport. And people need to think about that. Why do I have to prove that I'm not a criminal? Isn't it innocent until proven guilty? So why do I have to prove when I cross the border that I'm not a criminal?
One of the things I find interesting in all this, Dee,
yep,
all of those different programs and with Neil Keenan, NESARA, all of those different things, where are they going? They hit a dead end and they just stalled. And what I'm seeing is anything that does not fit into this new paradigm where there's no hierarchical structure, where everyone has equality, anything that doesn't fit that model just kind of stops. And when Heather said we're keeping the powers, that were at bay, this is what I see happening. It just,
exactly.
All of their plans just stop. But look at what's gaining momentum. All of those ideas that are pure intent, all of those ideas that are for the benefit of humanity are being thrown, and literally people are throwing whole different, paradigm schemes to rewrite everything from education to environmental cleanup. People are just presenting themselves, and I've been watching the chat room, our little private chat room where we do our planning sessions, and some of the things that are just presenting itself for solutions to problems before we even knew we had the problem. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing. It's just incredible to watch this happen. And it's I think it's just a matter of things being in sync with what the new paradigm is.
Yeah.
Well,
is Hope still on the line right now?
Sorry?
Is Hope still on the line?
I sure am.
There she is. I had a conversation with Hope. Hi, Hope. What was it? Maybe 2 days ago. We talked for about an hour, and I had read Hope's Fix the World business plan, but I had never talked to her one-on-one about it, and I was, how could I say it, blown away by the development that she has done and the amount of response. Hope, what was it, 37 countries? I said, Hope, how did you sort through all of that information? I mean, she put out the clarion call, and Hope, there's probably a lot of people that are listening on the line right now that are familiar with the Fix the World business plan. There's probably a lot that aren't. Why don't you explain that a little bit so people can really understand the scope of what you're working on?
Well, the Fix the World business plan, which is for the Fix the World organization, came from the Fix the World project. And back in September, I felt, I put out the call to all of humanity to say, what are your solutions for all of these problems that we have in our world? And close to 300 people from 37 countries wrote in essays with all of the answers, and they're all based in a new paradigm structure. So now we're now we're face to face with these same questions, and the people have already provided their own answers. And how I did it, I had a team of 20 volunteers to sort through all of the essays, and we had this entire process that we did in order to glean out the information that we needed so we can put it into a summary. But, the result was a 700-page document with every answer to every problem that we have that came straight from the people. And so from that, we put together the Fix the World organization, which is basically just a way to organize the implementation of those answers and to give people the ability to empower themselves and give them the tools that they need to organize themselves so that they can take those solutions and go out and implement them into the world.
Beautiful.
Brian, did you want to address anything about a press release?
Oh, sure. Real quick, this is so awesome. The emails are flooding in right now already for the announcement that I made earlier in regards to people sending emails in for support. I want to real quick, before I talk about the press release, let me just list off a few categories that we're looking for, because I love what I'm seeing right now. Valerie, by the way, I'm going to be giving you a call about your voiceover capabilities and how you can contribute that. Some amazing ones, but here's the list so I can run through it so I don't have to, because it's sitting right in front of me now and I didn't have it earlier. So printing, branding, brand management, mobile marketing, anything marketing, graphic design, web, art directors, print publication, UI and UX designers, anybody that has any skills at web design, writers and editors, programmers, administrators, web scripting, strategic planning, project development, project management, advertisers, new media online, anybody that has a knack for YouTube or promotions, artists, editors. I mean, the list goes on and on. So the email, one more time, we'll probably say it again a couple times if anybody calls in late, is OPPTgroundcrew@gmail.com, and then the subject line, write support -- and then what you can contribute. If you want to do a little email and explain it a little bit more, and then include a link to some of your work, that would be great. Thank you to everybody.
You also want them to include their country.
Mm-hmm.
You want them to include their location.
Yeah, good call. Thank you so much.
And Brian, if you can send that whole shebang to me, I will actually post that up on RTS tonight, so that people can visually look at the list and get an idea. Because some people don't realize that they have a magically hidden talent that could help.
and then videographers and photographers and publications, of course, I want to figure out about those either. So, yeah.
Can I just make the, Brian, I just feel like I need to add the legal kind of, the legal on the end of this. You're asking for volunteers, and these are not paid positions, and whatever is produced, the final product, there is no ownership of.
Correct.
It's all serving a purpose. It's serving a cause. You don't own the final product, and it'll be a collaboration. Yeah,
it's really important that we put that message out there. I mean, OPPT, the original trustees, Heather, Caleb, Randall, they've really made it a very important point that they don't accept donations. They don't pay salaries. They don't accept sponsors, and we're really trying to make sure that we stay pure and wholesome on that front. So all the work that we're all doing on this call, nobody's being paid for it. I mean, I'm doing this work because I want to see humanity free, and I'm volunteering my time and my energy in exchange for the benefit of being able to contribute, and a little bit of gratitude in return is not even. I mean that's kind of one of those things where we'll be very grateful for anybody that's willing to contribute. But if you're looking for a full-time gig or will work for peanuts, it's probably not the direction that we want to go. So that's the idea. And everything that we do is for the collective, and it's to support the greater good of everybody. So, thank you, Lisa. It's really important that we put that message out there before we take this any further as far as rallying the troops and really getting organized. But each project, so we're going to have multiple projects. Each project is going to have a team of people that are going to work, that are going to help to accomplish the project. And the projects are in development right now. And by the time that we have our next show, and within the next week, I'll have various projects organized, and we'll be able to figure out where there's still open places for need for any particular skill set, so we can ask in more specifics than kind of the broad strokes that I'm putting out there right now. But anybody that's willing to contribute, we're so grateful for the offer, and the amount of love that's been pouring in already is just, I mean, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's funny. Just real quick, when Hope and I talked the other night, the topic has come up. If everybody doesn't have to, who's going to sweep the floors and who's going to do all the jobs that nobody wants to do anymore. I think that we're going into a time where, once everybody is truly free, we're going to be operating on such a different mindset. We're going to be living in a society where, when a job needs to get done and it's in support of the greater good of the whole of humanity, people are going to be willing to step up and do it, even if it's not something that they necessarily view as their dream job or what they want to do forever. And it's hard to understand that kind of an environment because we've been so conditioned to believe that the world that we live in today is the norm and is normal, and it's so far from normal, and that's that's what we're all working toward right now. I just wanted to throw that out there because it really does apply. So some of these jobs that we need, it's all in support of everything that we're doing, and it's amazing how it's all coming together. I can't wait to hear about your flash mob idea, Lisa, but I'm not going to spoil that for you right now.
Brian,
yeah.
One way to illustrate it, it's like this. If you walked into a room and you seen a perfectly clean, brand new carpet, and there was one piece of paper on it, your first intention would probably be to pick it up. But if you walked into that same room and it was covered and littered with paper, and you had a piece of paper in your hand, you're more likely to drop it on the ground than to clean up all the paper. And it's just a matter of perception. When you start to see what we're building and you see that vision of that new world, you're more apt to pick up that piece of paper than you would to drop it down. And this is what I think everyone needs to focus on, what we're heading to, what could be when we all start to work together.
Exactly. Yeah. That was Bob, right?
Yep.
And this is Hope
Guru
again.
Bob.
I want to say one more thing, that we have to remember that there is going to be a transition period between the two.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we're all going to really need to hold each other's hands to get through that transition from where we are to where we're going to be.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
That's right. Yeah, the conversation has been up to this point focused on the current issue, which is the fact that the corporations have been foreclosed upon, but the conversation is just now starting to move into, well, what's actually life under this new situation going to look like? Now, tomorrow on Collective Imagination Show, we're having a guest on who's one of these very connected individuals, connected to Source, and he had a big download about 5 or 6 days ago and was actually given a very, very interesting picture of what the CVAX could look like. And we're going to have a conversation with him because it's quite detailed, and the conversation will probably give us a whole new lots of little hooks into how we can practically deal with the sorts of things that are going to happen in the transition. And we're hoping that will spur much wider conversation and get people thinking in a more comfortable fashion about it instead of saying, "Oh, I just don't know what it'll look like." And that's certainly part of the hand-holding that Hope speaks of. It's part of the transition, and we're going to get a perspective on it. It may not be, in reality what we co-create in the end, but we think it'll be a pretty exciting thing to listen to. And that's tomorrow on Collective Imagination. So if anyone wants to join us there, that would be great, because this is the direction it has to go. It's going to be a very, very, very interesting time.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris. I look forward to it. I love that, having that conversation and that side of things. It's always a really nice follow-up on the talks that we have here on OPPT, which is now every Monday. It's going to get more and more exciting every week. You asked me, Lisa, you said to talk about the press release. So the press release has been developed, and we're making some. It's already gone out. I'm not going to send the information out on it yet because we have a couple minor adjustments, very minor, but that we're going to be making here within the next hour or two. But we'll be putting it out on the website, and it's already, I mean, we're talking about news media outlets. It's going to be going around the world. There's a gentleman who, I'm not going to name his name for privacy reasons, but he's got one that's going out on PR Web tomorrow. And he's done lots of groundwork to make sure this thing goes all over the place. So for anybody that's on the call that's interested in sharing this information with anybody that they know, be it friends, family, neighbors, on their Facebook, social media, or with local news media outlets, this is a really great document that's very kind of simplistic by design to really just kind of cover the facts and point people in the direction of doing more of their exploration. But it's very succinct, it flows well, and it's exactly what we've been looking to put out for a while now. So, what's really great about right now is what everybody has been asking for is now coming to the table. Everybody wanted something that they could use to apply the documents in the UCC filings. And Chris and you and your team have been working on that. They've been looking for official press release documents. So, and now we have this, and we have what's going out on PR Web, and I'm sure there's many others that we don't even know about. That's the grassroots ability of this movement is the most fascinating thing, because I go on and I see things that people have done, and this isn't hokey pokey type stuff. It's elegant and beautiful and very so much talent and energy has gone into creating this this information for people to share that it's just mind blowing. But as far as this one that we have, probably within an hour after the show, we'll send it out. We'll put it out on Removing the Shackles and American Kabuki, and then we'll give it to you, Lisa, and anybody that's willing to share it. By all means, let's spread this thing far and wide.
And we'll announce where you can find it also on tomorrow's TCI show, Collective Imagination.
Perfect.
Show.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
Brian, that's going out to all the news agencies around the place?
Correct. Yeah, especially the one that's going out on PR Web. I'll send it to all you guys, and then this one will be going out tomorrow. It's going through a network that will eventually work its way into, let me see how many different channels, hundreds of channels of media
what about
channels.
Direct to Reuters?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. What I can do is, let me see, the guy that put the PR Web one together, I was reviewing earlier, maybe I could try to get him to pop into the queue as a caller. When we go on to the next topic, I'll see if I can, because I know he's probably listening, but I have no idea what his area code is. But I'll forward this on to you guys to take a look at right now. But this particular one I'm talking about right now will go out and go live tomorrow, and we'll talk about it on the show tomorrow night.
Oops, I've already posted it.
Whoops.
Brian. Not removing the shackles.
Brian.
Yeah, Brian.
You posted it, Dee?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I guess it's out there. Go to Removing the Shackles.
Brian the Shackles already has it up.
Go ahead,
Brian,
Chris.
we'll do our best to get this document we've been working on out there as well, so that that will start flowing quite quickly, I would say, and add to the effect of the press release. We hope.
Perfect. Yeah. Awesome. I mean, they all go hand in hand.
They do.
So I'll be looking forward to another call in another week where all these documents are now viral. And it's funny, I was having the thought when you guys were talking about the document, Chris, that you and your people have been working on, that it's one thing to have people blog about their experiences with it, but man, how awesome would it be if we had little hidden cameras that actually videotaped people's facial expressions when reading it on the other end.
That could be interesting. That could be very interesting.
Brian, can you repeat the ground crew email address again, please?
Yeah, it's OPPT for One People's Public Trust Ground Crew at gmail.com, and then go to Removing the Shackles tonight if we can get Dee to put the list out on her blog tonight, and they'll have all the list of everything. And it sounds like a big list. It's really not. If you feel, here's what I also want to throw out there. If you feel like you have a skill set that you can contribute, and you have an idea on how it can be put into put to work for the greater good, by all means, send me an email and tell me about that too. I mean, we can only come on this call up with so many great ideas. Some of the best ideas I've heard so far have been through emails that I've received. So if you got good ideas, send an email, title it idea. Let's hear what you got. If you like it, we'll throw it out there.
Yeah, Brian.
Okay, guys,
so I just want to say one thing, Brian. I'll need to talk to you about getting permission to include that press release in this document kit.
Perfect, of course.
Tie them together.
Now, the other thing I wanted to just say about the press releases, I've been involved in several grassroots campaigns where we have done blasted out press releases. And a lot of people get really frustrated because you send out a pile of press releases and you send them to your local CNBC and your CNN and your Reuters and your mainstream newspapers, and they get very, no one called, no one did anything, it didn't get picked up. The important thing to remember is you can force the mainstream media from the bottom up to cover a story. And I've had very, very good luck in putting it out. You hit the small media, hit the little community newspapers, college radio, college newspapers. Little small ones are willing to pick up on these things because they're not under the thumb of the controllers as much. Put it out with them, and if you get enough of the smaller, more local media picking up on it, it becomes an issue that the mainstream media has to pick up on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they don't, it's like the Occupy movement. 2 weeks in, mainstream media wouldn't touch it. But it was viral all over the world on all the alternative media. Well, it gets to a point where the pressure is too big. They have to step up and start talking about it. Otherwise, it becomes very blatant that they're not talking about it.
Well, Dee, one of the things I'm going to talk about is going to add to that pressure. So,
there we go.
One thing on that.
The corner again.
Yeah, well, one thing on that too, Dee, is that I think is a good point to make here is we're not necessarily relying on these press releases to get the word out to the world. You know, it's just what we're working on right now that supports the whole. It's a part that supports the whole. And when we talk to Heather, you know, it's very clear in many of the conversations that we've had that the OPPT is just a piece of a much bigger puzzle that's playing behind the scenes, and it plays a very important role, but it is not the whole. It isn't. I mean, you can say every small part does have a representation of the whole inherently by its very nature of being a part, but there's, you know, so much going on behind the scenes, some of which I feel like I understand, some of which I don't, and some of which no one's supposed to know about until it actually happens and occurs. And, you know, everybody's been talking for a while about so-called announcements coming. So ultimately what we're doing with these press releases is we're supporting that whole in that when the big announcements are made, whenever they're made, whether it's tomorrow or a week from now or a month from now or whenever that might be, there's supporting information for people to go and find to help them to find their own truth and help them to study and research and figure out what resonates with them and what's true to them, because there's a very large percentage of the population that's out there that will fight truth tooth and nail because they're so comfortable with the reality that they live in now that they'll chalk up anything like this as too far-fetched and conspiracy theory, and that's fine. But we're going to be coming to a point here in the very near future where it's going to be hard to argue the reality that's unfolding. And, you know, we've talked about it before. It's not necessarily anybody's job to wake anybody else up, but, man, the alarm clock is going to be so loud soon that you can hit that thing with a hammer and it's not going to shut off.
Hey, Brian, I have to say something. For anybody listening, for all the OPPT newbies out there, I'm drafting up an OPPT primer, basically to just help people make those connections for themselves, to start from the beginning, to explain what all of this means, where it all comes from, with all of the different links and resources that people can go back and read for themselves. So I'm drafting it up Hope Girl style for the rest of the people to try to bring that awareness to individuals. It's coming soon, and it'll be on my blog.
Hope, where does one find time to do such a thing when they're out fixing the world?
I know, right?
I look forward to reading that, Hope, and once again, thank you for all that you do. Beautiful work that you've done.
Well, thank you for all that you do. Everybody here, this is wonderful.
Okay, guys, we've actually got 35 callers on the line hoping to get in and ask a question, and we've also got quite a few updates to get through as well, so we need to really kick this in. So, updates. If you haven't already, please go to the opt-in Facebook page. Post your photograph. I am free, opt-in, something along those lines. Look at the photos that we've got. Share them on your timelines. Help spread the word. Get people asking, what the hell is this opt-in business all about? As a counter to that, we've also got the opt-out Facebook page. Now, this is the result of a couple of steps. Firstly, Caleb made a great comment about, opting out of the old system. Heather loved the idea and thought we could do it exactly like this as a counter to opt-in. So we're looking to provide and get your input on really creative, fun ways of opting out of the system. I love the idea of flash mobs personally. Now, you can use this page to go there and put your ideas in, connect with other people in your area if you actually want to do something as a group in person at a location. Maybe it's everybody meets out the front of the building where you get your passports from, does a dance, sticks your passports in a bucket and hands them back, or your driver's licenses, or whatever it is, your birth certificates, or at the bank, closing your accounts, or, these are just suggestions. Whatever ways you'd like to try and opt out of the system, do it with style, do it with fun, be creative about it, take photos, take videos. This is the place to post them and share them and connect with other people who are doing the same in your area. So that's that. Anybody want to comment on that?
I want to hear what the flash mob idea is about more, but I know we got a lot of callers, so.
Yeah, well, I'll just get through these updates nice and quick so that we can get to the callers.
Cool.
Okay, the other thing was beware of, because it tends to happen, disinfo sites that are going to look like they're related to the One People's Public Trust, but may not. They're usually, pretty quick on the heels of any positive movement. So all we can do at this point is, on this show and on the TCI show, is let you know what websites we know of where you can find reliable information, and also on Dee's website and American Kabuki's website at the moment. So there's no way for us to brand a website or put our tick on it to say, the trustees have looked at this and it's legit or anything like that, because anything we do like that can be stolen. So at the moment, I would rely on removing the shackles at American Kabuki and these two radio shows. That may change and evolve, and that's great, but just to be aware of it, because it usually happens. Okay, what's next? The flash mob. This was yet another brilliant idea that came up from Brian Bradley. And it's going to be an online Facebook flash mob. So tomorrow night, during the TCI show, whenever that happens to be in your area, the Collective Imagination show here on Blog Talk, we will be doing a real-time Facebook flash mob. We're going to go to the CBS, is it CBS or CN? CBS Facebook page, and blast it with comments using some of the tags that we already have. I am free, opt in. Opt in now. The People's Trust website. Anything that's just short, sharp, and relevant. Please, and ask them. Please talk about it. Please comment on it. Please, why haven't you commented? Or, why haven't you given this any attention? Why haven't you given this any airtime? And just blast their Facebook page. So join us tomorrow on the Collective Imagination, and we will hit go at some point during the show, and that's the plan. So it's CBS's Facebook page.
So anybody that's listening that has other ideas like that, please send
we
them
may
in.
do it every week. We'll just pick a different site.
Yeah, look, I'd just like to remind everybody of the magic of numbers. If there's 100,000 or more people listening to this call, you don't need that many emails hitting the inbox of the marketing department in a TV station or the news gathering department in a TV station or radio station for them to start to sit up and take notice. What if your major local TV stations all got 5,000 emails saying, why aren't you reporting on OPPT? And with a copy of the press release. Eventually it has to push through, as Dee was saying. It's always about the numbers, folks, and we have the numbers. We are the numbers.
Barbara's just put through another great tag, is disclose absolute data now.
I love it.
Thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
I'd hit the like button if I could.
Yeah.
That's actually it for all the updates that I have. Does anybody else have an update, or can we start bringing in callers?
I think that pretty much covers it. I'll probably come up with something. But yeah, let's bring in callers, Lisa. Go for it.
Okay. First off the rank is area code 646. If you think that's you, just say hi. Area code 646. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? We got you.
Hello?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
What's your
Thank you. I'm Rick. How are you?
Oh, hi, Rick. I'm great. How
hi,
are
Rick.
you?
I had my headphones in, and I guess it muted my mic. So anyway, I'm glad you can hear me, and I'm really amazed with what you people are doing. Do I have just a second to tell you about what's going on with me and then what I'd like to do to be involved with what you're doing?
Yeah, if you can keep it short, I'd love to hear it.
All right, great. Well, I moved from New York City to rural New England about a year ago. I'm loving it. And everything's just kind of unfolding in what feels like a magical way. And the more I'm away from the metropolis, the more I feel a serious sense of clarity and release from this mass illusion. And I've been listening to what's been going on with OPPT for a while now. Recently, I watched a few films, Ken Frick's documentary Samsara, and then I also watched Beasts of the Southern Wild. And I kind of, as an artist, I'm a composer and a writer and a playwright. I got this sense of, it was like a combination of, I need to get this information out in a narrative form, but I also got this sense of overwhelm because there's such a broad spectrum of culture and belief and experience. And what you wonderful people are you're enacting this paradigm shift that will impact literally at a global level. And I'm kind of overwhelmed, I guess, as I imagine a lot of people who are still utterly stupefied by the system and they're still locked into it. So I've been listening and I've been gathering a lot of things during your talk over the last hour, but I feel like we're gaining this momentum towards a quickening. So this question is particularly towards Bob because I consider him kind of the Yoda of your group, actually. Bob is just
yeah. We actually call him Guru Bob.
No, well, that's very appropriately put. And Bob's my dad's name, and I miss him a great deal. So Bob is always a name that means a lot to me. And I would like to just, I think it was mentioned last week that someone said that it took slaves that were freed after the Civil War up to a year before they actually were convinced they were free.
Yeah. Yep.
I think we're going to be hitting a lot more momentum because we've got the internet and a lot more powerful communication at our disposal. But the cultural malaise and the cultural kind of the trance is so thick. What are just some of the ideas that you folks are talking about break out of this. And I know we're talking about marketing and memes and buzz phrases and stuff like that, which is all good. Someone actually mentioned ripping off the Band-Aid today. I said, "Oh, you know about OPPT?" And they go, "No." So it's even permeating beyond the people who have actually started the meme, rip off the Band-Aid. So I'm really so excited about what you're doing and want to plug into it. But I'm also up here in the wilds of northern Connecticut and want to just I'm going to be emailing Brian. No worries about all of that. But just so powerfully connected with what you're doing. And Bob, how do you find the best way of breaking people out of their stupor? I know it's not our job to wake people up, but there's a big, thick, Super Bowl-sized stupor out there. What is a primer for this? What are first baby steps for doing that? Or am I already doing it? I don't know.
Well, I think it's different for every person when they finally wake up to the idea, but I think it starts with asking questions, because ultimately you start asking and questions that you traditionally may not ask. Why are you not okay with this? Why are you not okay with the way the world is? Why is this situation causing so much grief for you? And ultimately you're going to have to say it's because it's not the way I choose to live. It's not the way I choose to be. And then you're going to have to ask that question, well, then who are you? Because it's really one of the things that, wakes people up is when they start asking questions. So maybe you can ask those questions for them, something that they haven't considered before, and one question sort of leads to another. And once they start questioning, why do you think, only 1% of the population has all the money? Just get them to think, to question things that normally they don't have time to do. It's one of those situations that's self-perpetuating, because when you're in the mode of surviving, you just that's all you're thinking about. Before you go to bed, you start to worry about, okay, what bills do I have to pay? What bills haven't I paid? What are they going to shut off next? Your mind is in constant survival mode, and you need to break them away from that to ask another question, to break them, from that cycle. And it's not always easy to do, and sometimes it's not possible. I have a roommate that loves to say you could lead a man to knowledge, but you cannot make him think.
It seems like that the world's gone down the toilet so far that there's at least one area of somebody's life that is an opening for you to start the conversation. And it may be relationships. It may be finances. It may be their stifled creativity because they hate their job, and it may be, any number of things, but all of it can relate to eventually the fact that the system is the way it is and it's all inside out and backwards and upside down.
Mm-hmm.
There's always an opening. And I want to really thank you, Rick, for calling in. I hate to do it to you, but I'm going to have to mute you and move on because we just have so many people to get to.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Okay, we have area code 661. Area code 661? No one? Area code 661? Hello?
Hello? Hello?
Hello? Yes.
Oh, sorry, I just I called in on Skype, so I didn't know what area code was coming through, but...
Oh, okay. What was your
name?
What's your name, sorry?
It's Daryl from Canada.
Oh, okay. Hi, Daryl.
Hi, Daryl.
The Daryl from Canada. Hey, Daryl.
The Daryl. There's only one Daryl in Canada, apparently.
Yeah, and I'm it. So just had a question on the courtesy notice. And is the courtesy notice that something that we're doing in lieu of the full public disclosure of the trust?
No, in addition to.
Yeah.
So
and
can I speak to that, Lisa?
Waive that disclosure.
Yep.
Look, I'll just make a comment about the courtesy notice, because it's the intent of the courtesy notice is to give us a mechanism to deflect the old system as effectively as possible whilst educating it until that moment of disclosure, of absolute disclosure. Once that takes place, the playing field is going to shift, and we may be doing things quite a different way, or we may continue with that courtesy notice. That's response to your first question. I'll let Lisa and Brian speak to when that might take place.
No, Brian's probably better to answer that one as to the when.
Because basically, I can't tell you when that will take place.
So the question was when we won't need the document anymore. I'm trying to.
Yeah, the question is when will
absolute disclosure take place? I guess is the question.
Here's what I'm told, and I don't know if it's. I mean, it's definitely not the whole story, and I don't know how accurate it is. But it sounds more reasonable to me. I'm told that absolute disclosure and absolute data. I mean, we're in the baby steps of it right now, but everybody's really what they're looking forward to is the floodgate being open. And when it happens, I'm told that it's going to come in chunks. It's not like everybody's going to turn on the news and Anderson Cooper is going to be talking about how September 11th was an inside job. And everything else, and OPPT and the foreclosure of the corporate governments. I mean, we're not trying to give people heart attacks here, but at the same time, if we're talking about ripping the Band-Aid off, then we're talking about ripping the Band-Aid off, which I think we should trademark that, by the way, rip the Band-Aid off TM, so we can stake that. But
the only problem, is, darling, is that Band-Aid is a brand.
Rip the Band-Aid off, though, is a phrase.
Yeah, but Brian. The corporations who are competing using branding as a major tool no longer exist. That whole concept.
No more trademark systems. I realize the flaw in that. There will be no ownership anymore. But that's ultimately it's a great question. I know everybody that's listening on this call is wondering the exact same thing, myself included. I've gotten hung up on dates, in the past, and for me personally, I've come to the conclusion that faith that everything is unfolding as it's supposed to and in the way that it was designed to. And this is all, I've talked about it before, and it sounds cliche, but it's so by design. We're not behind on anything. I mean, some people looked at December 21st, 2012 as being the date where the world changes, and the fact of the matter is the world did change. It just wasn't visible for everybody right away. And so, it's one of those things. If you ask me my opinion, I mean, I can give you my opinion, but don't get hung up on my opinion because it is just mine, I think that, we're at the final stretch. I think that we're at the final stretch right now, and I think that February is going to be a big month. And I think that certain things are going to roll over to March, and March is going to be a big month, and every month thereafter is going to be a big month. I mean, this last month, January, was a huge month for me, and anybody who wants to, to open their eyes, they'll realize that a lot was accomplished. And once absolute data comes out and everybody can see the chronological history of events that have taken place, they'll realize that absolute data is coming out right now. But what everybody's looking for is absolute data in the context of I can go to my neighbor and I can talk to them about it and they'll know about it too. That's what we're all waiting for, and yep. I feel it's only a matter of time.
Could I throw one more thing in there that might illuminate the situation a bit? I'm going to read a sentence directly out of the Declaration and Order of Constitution of CVAC Government, which is one of the UCC documents up on the site. And it says this. This is in relation to the what they're listing as four of the fundamental things that the CVAC's going to do. And number two is this. And this is in relation to the one of the duties of the CVAC. To duly produce immediate, true, accurate, and complete full disclosure to said states of body of absolute truth, knowledge, and the absolute standing, authority, value, rights, principle of law of said states of body, inclusive of disclosure of ULIO.2012 127914, all verified ordinances therein, duly underwritten, etc. And that document is actually the foreclosure document for the banks that they're referring to. One of the things you might look to for an approximate time period is when the CVACs come online, because the CVACs, the public servants in the CVAC, are obliged to attempt to completely, fully disclose everything to everybody. Now, that doesn't mean that the mainstream media will necessarily, jump on board. But if we've done our homework and promoted the OPPT to them, it's far more likely to have that effect. And it will depend also on who the people are in the CVAC and whether their public standing is such they'll command immediate attention. So in my wild-ass speculation, I say look to activation of CVACs as being a possible time about which that might happen. But look, again, I could be wrong. It may work out some completely other way, but it's actually written into the specs for the CVAC.
Well, whether it's the CVAC or the OPPT or whatever it is, what it lacks right now is some credibility from something other than our little circle of alternative media, right? I mean, when somebody gets the courtesy notice, whether it's the meter reader or whomever, they're not going to, while that's being put on notice, they're not going to know anymore that they're doing anything wrong until there is something else out there that they can look to that tells them that they're doing something wrong. And so I think that they're more likely to look at you as a nutcase or a slacker who's trying to get out of what they perceive as a legitimate obligation. And so I would think in the courtesy notice, one thing that you might want to consider is to have anybody who is providing one of those, that they provide a copy of it to the recipient's head office or employer or something.
That's where it needs to end up, at the legal team.
Yeah, that is one of the things that we're working into the document as one of the final changes, is a request to pass it on to supervisors and legal advisors within your within your foreclosed corporation immediately.
Right.
Going to try and make that a requirement in there. It needs to move up through the chain. Wherever it goes, it needs to move around some more, and it needs to find its way into the hands of the most senior counsel in each organization ASAP.
So let me give a quick stat real quick that'll paint a pretty vivid picture here. When we were posting on American Kabuki about a month ago, and I put a post out there to bring some clarity in for people that were looking for answers. At the time, we Googled One People's Public Trust, and I believe it was 23,000 responses that came back. I just Googled One People's Public Trust right now, and that 23,000 turned into 33 million. So keep in mind, you get 100 pages deep on this list, and it's going to be things that have people's and public and trust in different areas. But just that number, sheerly from jumping from 23,000 to 33 million, shows that it's gone up exponentially. And everything that we're now doing with the press releases is only going to increase the exposure from there. Because if you're one of these employees and you get one of these things, and you've never heard about it before, your first response very well could be this is baloney. But later on, you're going to get home that night and you're going to wonder, is there any legitimacy here? And first thing I would probably do, well, let's just say one of the first 5 things I'd probably do, just to be honest here, is I'd go on and I would Google it, try to find it. Yep. And then if there's a lot of hits that come back, all of a sudden now I have the ability to start, the trigger has been made in my mind for me to continue doing my research and doing my homework, because ultimately so many of these people out there are good-hearted, honest people that want to know that they want to sleep confidently at night knowing that they have integrity and they did the right thing that day. And if I'm working in a job, this is just me personally, but I know that for every me out there, there's millions of others, and I start to get the sense that something is dishonest at my job, I start to really question what I'm doing, and I would want to fix it real quick. So if we can accomplish that, then we're very much on the right track.
Another thing,
for sure.
Another thing, Daryl, I wanted to speak to. A lot of people are looking for the official word or the official acknowledgement, and one of the things that I want to tell everyone, you've got to look to yourself, because hope is not enough. Hope you can be disappointed in your hope. You've got to
Not you, Hope Girl. Just go ahead.
Thank you.
They don't say that about hope.
Don't give up on hope.
Sorry, Bob.
No, that's no problem. And yes, everyone should have a hope. But it's not. You've got to know. You've got to know who you are, because if you're looking for an official word, you're already giving your power away to someone else who has authority to say that it's okay for you to be free. And that's not where we're moving into. You know that you're free because you know that I hate being told what to do. I hate being told when to do it. I make a terrible employee. I know this about myself because I am not one of those people who can be contained. And so this is what I know. I know that I'm free. I know, and I don't need the UCC filings to tell me. It makes it convenient so that I can communicate it to other people. But you've got to make that shift, and a lot of people who are looking for the official word to come from the very slave drivers who imprisoned you, that doesn't make sense to me. And it's also giving your power away.
Yeah, Sharon, my wife wants to make a comment.
Yeah, just on that note, I'd like to go back to Rick's question on how we approach people. Because if we ask people what they think, they will automatically, left brain, go back to subconscious programming, which is the dark agenda, enslavement programming, and they'll be looking for ways to validate why they're in this situation. So we find when we ask people how they feel about a certain situation or circumstance, that takes them into their right brain, heart-centered self, and they will start automatically asking questions because they will be resonating against, they don't like what they're feeling. Everybody knows that they're enslaved. They may not know it consciously, but they certainly know that they are in survival mode and they don't have the answers. And so what we'll find is when we ask people how they feel about it, they will start asking questions more readily and be more open because they're not bumping back up against the subconscious programming. So I just wanted to add that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Daryl and wife, I want to thank you both for chiming in, and we're going to have to move on if we're going to get to these callers. So I'm just going to mute you again, but thank you once again. And I believe we do have, I'm going to see if this is him, Patrick, 716 Patrick. Do we have you?
Hello.
Hello,
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Now,
Hey,
you're
Patrick.
who's connected to the press release, right?
Yes, I am.
Was there anything
Welcome,
you wanted to
Patrick.
say in regards to?
I'm sorry?
Was there anything else you wanted to add in regards to this press release?
Well, just that it's going out to all the major news services like Reuters and the Associated Press and a bunch of the web media outlets. I put together the package, and basically it's the 1111.1 announcement, the first part of it up to and including the facts and data, and then I took the verbiage off the duly foreclosed slide, and that says the Hague and the UN and the World Bank and the IMF and the Bank of International Settlements have all been foreclosed upon, and that way when it goes out, any of these large corporations that have legal departments, their lawyers will be able to trace through the facts and data, all the UCC numbers, and verify that, this is reality.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. Again, I'm just going to mute you if that's all, Patrick, and move on. There's just too many people to talk to, unfortunately. We've got area code 770. Area code 770. Hello. 770? If you've got your hand up, you think that's you, just say hello.
And that may be someone calling from Gmail or GChat. I think that area code comes from Google.
770? Going once, going twice, and okay. And we've got area code 614. Area code 614? Going once, going twice. Okay. And we've got area code 832.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Hey, we got someone.
Hi, this is Lisa from Houston, Texas.
Hi, Lisa from Houston, Texas.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. I've never called in. I usually don't do things like this, but I'm so excited I can't contain myself.
Well, we're on it.
I just wanted to, first of all, just tell you how much I'm in joy and gratitude for what you guys are doing. I know you have a lot of callers, so I'll try to make this brief. And I think this actually kind of goes into what the first two callers were talking about. Maybe you can see if it is. A while back, Heather had actually mentioned that the CBACs are actually going to be needed in physical locations in different geographic areas or for facilitation. And Brian, you were saying earlier you're just getting all kinds of offers from so many different countries. I was wondering if you had thought of yet of taking the people who are in a close geographical area and trying to put those people together so that we could create a physical representation for people who have information and they can see real bodies, tangible evidence of what is going on other than just alternative media, even postings on the internet, because, you know, a lot of times these days people will look at it and say, oh, you know, it's just out there. It could be real, it could not be. But if there was, I thought about this, and I would love to participate in organization and working with facilitating a group in my local area if there are other people that are from Houston or the surrounding area. I didn't know if you had thought about that. That might take some burden off of Brian or the people who are trying to sort out this vast project. That's all.
Yeah,
it's so exciting.
I can take that, Lisa. First, well, gosh, we got two Lisas on the phone now. Lisa caller. First of all, thank you for calling in and for your comments. There is actually something that's going to be in development that's going to help facilitate what you're looking for. When we have our main hub up, American Kabuki is working on one right now. It's going to be a blog designed to help those in certain areas connect with each other as well. But until that happens, and I know it'll be happening quickly because everything we do seems to be happening very quickly these days, what I would suggest is start a meetup group. And, I have a couple close friends of mine. They host a group, is 2012 Awakening group that they've been doing for a couple of years now, and they host it at a yoga studio, and they meet every week to talk about developments and spiritual developments and consciousness. But that's what the beauty about Meetup is, you can make it whatever you want, and Meetup will point people to your group that are looking for the kind of information that we have to offer. But if that's not something you're interested in, what you're looking for will be available soon, because the thing is right now, there's people from all over the world listening to this phone call, and I've never met Lisa Harrison in person. She's in Australia. I'm in San Diego. We talked today, but we do so much of our communication, all of us, on Skype. But if you're looking for actual physical contact,
good. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're looking for actual physical contact, that will be available soon. But don't let us stop you. Meetup's a great place to go, and more power to you if you can get some people in your community to gather and have discussions about this, because this is big information, and I know there's obviously a lot of people that would be interested to hear about it and to chat with you about it. So.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying, but as far as, I'm not really just talking about people who have heard of and want to participate in OPPT. I'm thinking of the people who we're approaching daily and trying to inform them in the workplace, and the postman, the policeman, the person on the other end of the phone who's your mortgage company or credit card company, the people, your neighbors who've never heard a thing about this. And those are the people, my husband is like it. Unless he can see it and taste it and touch it, and if he can go to it, it's just out there in the ethers until he can actually see something. I'm talking about and I know this is down the road, but with all of the people who are contacting you, and I know there's a hub, and maybe we'll have to wait for that, but I am willing to even donate a space, a place for people to come to that could actually be a facilitation location for the postman to actually check out.
Yeah.
Yes, these things are up and running. It's ground roots. It's just getting started, but here you go. So that's all. I'm a loner in this, in my world. I don't know of one person around me who would be an OPPT person that would do this with me at this time. So with the people who are communicating with you.
Lisa, you just never know who you're going to find if you stick a flyer up on your local cafe wall where you can put up notices, or at your local library. Stick up some flyers. And make
here's the other thing. Go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to say, if you put the information that's really relevant on there, then people who do know what you're saying will respond. So if you were to just put One People's Public Trust meeting, then the people who know what that means will show up. The people who find that interesting will show up.
And Lisa, also this press release technically it's out there today. If you go to Removing the Shackles, it's out there now.
I've already posted it on my local Craigslist. I do that now in community.
Yeah, so that's a good intro. And what you have to remember too, Lisa, because there's a lot of I'm talking to you now, Lisa, but there's a lot of Lisas listening in on this call that feel the exact same way. So I'm really talking to everybody. As awareness raises for this, the energy it shifts to a place that will create a much more suitable space for you to be able to do these things. And that's what we're doing now, because as we raise awareness and more people find out about it, then the interest levels and the audience and the demographic of those following this information increases exponentially, and there's only going to be more and more of a demand to put into practice what it is that you're talking about. So we're getting there, and we're much farther along than we were a month ago, and imagine where we'll be in the next few weeks.
I know. I'm feeling the energy. It's like blowing out of me. So I had to call in. But listen, I know you have a lot of other phone calls, and I love all of you. I'm so grateful. And Brian, I sent you an email. I'm the photographer, accountant, jack of all trades. So that's me. Know that I am ready to start in any way. So thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Lisa. We love you too.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This is y'all looking for 276? Hello?
Peter.
I guess so.
What's up, brother? How are you doing?
That must be Pete from Sui Juris Me.
No, we changed the name, but protect the innocent. We're privatist.me. We went private.
Yep. Thanks for correcting.
Yeah, it's all right. Hey, I love what I'm hearing. This is beautiful. This is where the
Can I ask you this question?
Sure.
Pete? You've got the memo. You've got the memo.
Oh, I've had the memo. I've been beating the brakes off on the memo for 25 years. Matter of fact, that's why I set up a private meeting place for the minds to actually get their minds right effectively. That's why I set up privatist.me, and anybody can go there. It's free and it's beautiful because we're really sharing the truth on a different level. I do 2 blog talks a week on Tuesdays and Saturdays with Freedom Reigns with my producer. And I'm bringing forward the collective shift as best I can. I'm but one man, but Michael and we're sort of the deeper thinkers, and we bring them information. We bring them truth. We bring them substance so they can actually grab onto and see it, and then know that this has been a big illusion, and we help them take off those rose-colored glasses and help them move forward on a whole different level. That's what we do.
Now, Pete, have you read the One People's Trust document set?
I sure have.
How did you like it?
I liked them. Yep. I understand them. Matter of fact, I've posted with Heather a couple times. She posted back with me in an email, but I'd definitely like to get some FaceTime with her and share what we can move to help affect move forward. I loved what y'all are doing and what she's done, and I think there's some more ways to skin a cat. And I'd like to give her my little collective input and see what we can do, because this is where we all come together with our collective mindset. I don't know it all, but hey, I know a couple things that I can share the love, and that's where I live, brother.
Yeah. Well, I know it sounds gross, but we love skinning cats, my man.
Yeah, I got 3 in the house you can have.
Yeah. Just to explain. Have a question you wanted to present to the crew at all?
Well, I guess I just want to share, help pull some of the sled. The only thing I really want to do is say, hey, for those that are into the shift, come on over to privatist.me. It's posted on Blog Talk as well, because there's a plethora of excellent information, eye-opening information. It's all free over there on those side of those portals with educational information, because I talk about big pharma, big medical, the whole system on how it's all tied in, the bonds, basically to sort of pull back the curtain so people can actually, because if you're living in a false paradigm and nobody's ever told you or could prove to you or show you what's really going on, you can't change and shift, So it's educational, and what you guys are doing is educational. So this is where the collective, we all pull together. So I really don't have any questions. I'm just trying to share some of the love.
Okay, great. Thank you, Pete. So
You're welcome.
For those of you who need an extra resource in terms of educating people who may be in a state of disbelief about how the system actually is, then great. Pete's website's a great one for that. So Thank you, Pete. I'm just going to mute you again, and we'll move on to the next caller.
Thank you.
Hey, Lisa. Before you do, can I just ask that Francesca and Eugenio say hello? I want folks to know that Eugenio. They'll be on the line. They're in the queue waiting to.
There's a lot of other people. I don't know how to identify them.
Yeah, no, but they've come in. They've come through like I have on the panel.
Yeah, as have 20 other people. I just don't know how to identify them. Oh, yeah.
No worries. Okay, I'll find out how to do that. I'd like for them to say hello so that people know who they are. They are pretty much the very most prominent members of the group in Italy at the moment. Okay, so
you can give me an area code. That'd be great.
Okay.
If they hit 1, they can raise their hand.
055 from Francesca, and Eugenio is. So you got that 055.
No.
Okay. Well, anyway, that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's not there. It might be shown because sometimes people think their area code is something, and it shows up as something else. I've got no 055.
Okay, she's got 0039 055. 0039 055. Never mind.
I'll quickly work through the list, see if I can find her.
Yep, and it's not. I just wanted people to know that they're there. That's all.
Okay, We do have someone here. Sounds like you've got a noisy background. 205.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. What was your name?
Oh, sorry. I had the radio on. I'm Jennifer.
Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi. Hey, you guys. Oh, my gosh. It is so awesome to talk to all of you. I've been following this stuff for such a long time. I've followed all of this stuff for such a long time, and it's just the most amazing thing to watch it unfold. I have a question for all of you that no one seems to have sort of posed yet with regard to sort of the contracts themselves. And I was curious if any of you on the panel know anything about quantum grammar or parsing syntax grammar. Yeah.
David Windmiller, yeah? Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
well, I'm just curious.
Familiar with it?
Yes, I am, and I'm just curious about the aspects of sort of this knowledge in terms of trying to understand more of, because this boils down to contract. It boils
I'm actually
down
not
to
going there.
contract.
There's somebody else wants to step in. I'm not going there.
I'm sorry?
Okay.
I'm leaving that one.
Oh, is that Jennifer?
Yes.
Yeah, Jennifer. Look, I've actually been thinking about David Windmiller's quantum grammar techniques, and one of the things about it, and I haven't made up my mind how relevant it is to bring that technology forward into the paradigm we're shifting into, to be honest. It's based on an absolute interpretation of the grammatical structure of the English language and its use in the legal system. Now, the legal system has just been completely removed off the playing field. So whilst I acknowledge that within that original legal language based around English, quantum grammar is actually a very powerful way of ensuring communication is like an incoming arrow, that it never, it always penetrates its target. But in the context we're moving into, is that necessarily what we want? Is it absolutely necessary? One of the stipulations in the CVAC is that it's supposed to simplify and unify the lawful structures.
And no more legalese.
No more legalese. So whilst it is a valid way of making our communications incredibly precise, whether it flows into legal use or whether it's just something that where elements of it get used in how language is taught in the future, I don't know. So it's very much a question mark for me. I acknowledge its effectiveness in the old system, but that's actually not where we're going, and we need to evaluate stuff that we bring forward.
Well, yes, actually, point very well taken, because that's sort of my sticking point. It's like in terms of my understanding of the whole thing, and in terms of like, okay, I'm going to file UCC, a financial statement. Well, I mean, that's old paradigm. And so there's this, as I think Hope mentioned, there's this transitional period where we sort of, there's this aspect of having to do that, of having to sort of somewhat be in the old paradigm, and if it is just about just using a mathematical formula to put it onto the language so that we can learn how not to be deceived in our future contracts, because we're going to continue to make contracts with each other. I mean, until we become telepathic. I mean,
that's right. That's absolutely right. So that's also an aspect of the CVAC stuff, which we'll gradually move into over the next few weeks, we hope, that there is a facility in there for contract, provided it's not done for self-interest and to the detriment of others. So there will still be contract. But
I think what they're going to be is each of us have our own form of a code of conduct. We each have our own, I guess a code of conduct. It's on paper and it says, okay, if you're going to deal with me, then this is what you can expect from me, and this is what I will expect from you, and it belongs to me. So that if you're going to deal with me in this context, and it'll be simple.
Certainly,
and
I do understand that. Well, again, I do understand that too. But as I think Bob was saying, the sticking point for me is that apparently we, normal in quotes people do that now, and we enter into agreements with others doing that now. But the legal documents are drawn up that we don't understand when we read them.
Mm-hmm.
and as we move forward, because we will, until we become telepathic, have to make contracts with others. And so,
well, I do acknowledge that it could have value, but I can't answer as to whether, as to whether we'll use it. It's something that we should consider on the way through, because one of the things we have to realize is that we get to choose what happens next from this point. And one of the interesting things about the CVAC discussion we're having tomorrow is what the gentleman brought down was that the whole situation remains in a state of flux for a really long time, where everything gets reviewed on approximately a 3-month cycle, everything that's going on around, every contract, arrangement, so that we can stay in a state of flux. So we're going to have decision after decision to make as a worldwide community sometimes, and as local communities a lot of the time. And it's just going to be this constant moving forward and developing. And what you're talking about, I know, will play into it, but we just don't know how that all looks like until we're in it.
Yeah, certainly, I can appreciate that. Well, I hadn't heard anyone talking about that specific thing, and since we do still function with language, until all
it's
of us
not going to go in. Yeah. Well, when we're telepathic, there'll be no secrets.
Right. So we won't. This would be a non-issue, but we're not there yet. And so,
No.
I'm sort of thinking, well, exponentiation being what it is, I don't know how quickly it might happen, but I could also visualize that it could be years, before we've actually made that switch, and so language will be necessary in that time. So it was just a question that's still there for me in terms of how this will play out, and so I appreciate you understanding my point and addressing it.
We're
Thank
actually
you, Jennifer.
we're all in that same place. We've got a foot in each camp.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, peace to all of you, and continue with a light bearing.
Thank you, and you too, Jennifer. We'll talk soon.
Okay,
thanks, Jennifer.
Okay, guys, we've only got 5 minutes left. I don't think we've got time for any more callers, which is really unfortunate because there are so many of you, and hopefully next week or tomorrow. So, last things, just as a reminder, we've got the Collective Imagination show tomorrow. If you haven't already, you can go to the Collective Imagination page on Facebook and like it so that you can stay up to date on when our show is and where to find it. It is here on Blog Talk. You can look it up under the Collective Imagination or under 5D Media Network. Go to the Opt-in Facebook page. Add your photograph. Go to the Opt-out Facebook page. Come up with some fabulous creative ideas for opting out of the current system. Join us tomorrow on the Collective Imagination for our live flash mob, which will be an online Facebook flash mob. I think that's it. Go to Removing the Shackles for the press release that's already out there. And keep your eye on the Opt-in, OPPT-in.com website. When the document that Chris is talking about is absolutely finalised and ready for release, that'll be the first place it goes, and it will get linked from there to other affiliated websites. Anything else? I'm going to say my goodbyes and hand it over to the other people on the panel to say their goodbyes and any last comments. So, Chris, go for it.
Thanks, everybody, for listening in, and it's great to talk to all of you. I'm not sure how many are out there, but tune back in next week because this is going to be an ongoing process, and thank you for your time and energy.
Cool. I'll jump in real quick. So if anybody wants to find the actual scribed version of the press release that they can share, it's going to be on Facebook. We'll put it on your Facebook, but it's also, if you want to go to Scribed, it's www.scrib.com/doc/1238-30459, and then it's /OPPT press-release. It's kind of a mouthful, but between there and Removing the Shackles and then on Facebook, this is ready to go. I actually got an email real quick in closing from Daryl. 300 to 400 media outlets have already received it, and it's going in to be reviewed for the banking section, business section, technology section, finance, social, legal, and government, and the hope is that a 3 to 10% hit rate is good. And then keep an eye on the PR web for tomorrow. So thank you for everybody listening, and feel free to share this call far and wide. We need everybody to step up and share this in order for us to really continue the traction that we have. And I look forward to
60 seconds.
Yep, I look forward to talking to everybody again next week. Have a great night.
Thank you. And Bob?
I just want to say to everyone, spread the word. Let's keep this momentum going. Things are moving exponentially quick, and we'll share it as quickly as we can. So please stay tuned in.
Okay, Dee had to say goodbye already. She had to leave us, so I'm saying goodbye on behalf of Dee. And Hope Girl, you still there?
I'm still here, and I just want to let everybody know that we have a new website, fixtheworldproject.org. So please go come visit us. And thanks so much, everybody, for having me.
Fixtheworldproject.org. Lovely. Quick shout out to American Kabuki. I believe he was out there listening, but he didn't join us. Excuse me. And to Santos, thank you very much. To Diatra from Freedom Reigns, thank you so much for giving us this time to do this. And once again, guys, tune in tomorrow for the Collective Imagination, and same time, same bat channel next Monday night. And see you then. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.